afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to TechNow live from Knowledge 17. Give yourselves a big hand.
Yeah.
Yay! Thank you for joining us. I am Chuck Tomasi. We'll do our introductions in just a moment. Okay, that was a moment. I'm Chuck Tomasi.
Next moment.
We changed the slide deck at the last minute. Platform architect in the platform practice team at ServiceNow. Been with ServiceNow since 2010. Was a customer for a couple of years before that. I am the honored winner of the first Innovation of the Year award for coming out with an application on the platform before it was really a fully recognized platform. I also do many videos on TechNow, as well as participate in Dave Slusher and Josh Narius' live coding happy hour on Friday afternoons when I'm not busy and when the refrigerator has beer.
That's right.
Next.
And I'm Dave Slusher. I'm a developer evangelist in the platform business unit. I've been with ServiceNow about 3.5 years. I've been a developer evangelist about 1.5 years. And developer.servicenow.com. Go there and get a free instance. Do you have a free instance? Raise your hand. If you don't have a free instance, if you don't have one, why don't you have one? Go get a free instance. You can have one. All right, and that's it.
And I'm Kreg Stepp. I'm a senior curriculum developer. I work in education services, and I work on curriculum for cloud and a little bit of orchestration, and that's actually been my focus there at ServiceNow. I've been there for 3 years. A lot of coding.
Give Kreg Stepp a hand because all the instances you use this week are his responsibility. He is the man behind the curtain on all that stuff. 70,000 instances this week.
Yeah. And let me tell you, they were tired. They were heavy.
Yeah, boy, are my arms tired.
Yeah, boy, my arms are tired.
Here's a banana for scale.
That's right.
All right. If you were not here yesterday, what we did is began constructing a meetup application on ServiceNow, similar to meetup.com, where you could organize an event, have related people that are attending or maybe not able to attend, but you'd like to track those anyway. And we did this all with the no code and low code. So we made a table, we put fields on the form, we did some scriptless business rules, we put some UI actions on there with a little bit of code to say, I'm going. We sent out a notification. Again, no code. It was a lot of functionality to take something from an old yucky spreadsheet and put it into a modern, controlled, designed, reportable application. Also, if you were not here yesterday, you missed the fact that, we had a different seating arrangement for one thing.
Yeah.
I am now in the middle so that both parties can see. Kreg got so bored that he started playing air guitar with his microphone.
Hey, he's still young. I might do it again.
Thank you, Jake Gillespie, for the photograph.
Yeah, thanks.
Photo credits to him. That was on Twitter. I could not resist. So today we're going to take that same application we were building yesterday and build out some additional functionality. For you that have JavaScript capabilities, for you that have talent pool in your organization around AngularJS, we are going to build out a modern UI that we can use on our mobile devices to sign up for these events. We are going to build a REST integration out to a weather site to put in the notifications. So if I'm going to the zombie hunt, I should know whether to bring my umbrella or not just for killing, but it might rain.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that the order that we're doing this in these two sessions are kind of the order you tend to do the functionality in, right? You've got to do the data model, you've got to do the forms and UIs, and then it kind of naturally falls out that it's time to extend it. It's time for the code. So we've done the pre-work. Now let's code it.
Yep, and make it beautiful. So I'm going to build all that out in 30 minutes, and the reason we're doing this is to give people more modern device. This is the age of BYOD in your organization, if you haven't noticed in the last 10 or 15 years. So we want to make sure our mobile users are just as happy with their ServiceNow experience as our desktop users are, and we will flesh that out. So enough of the PowerPoint presentations. By the way, I will be making all of this application available in a Git repository, so if you have a personal developer instance or you want to go get one, you can build onto this. We're actually leaving a couple of requirements on the table so that you can experiment and play around with that as well.
Homework?
You could call it homework.
Yeah, okay.
Or just mad scientist.
Yeah, mad scientist.
So this is my application. I have the Knowledge 17 event up here. And what I'm going to begin with is, where are we beginning? Today's objectives, we're going to leverage server-side script. Oh yes, let's go back to Studio. First thing I need is to get my script built. The way I usually approach these things is to think about it from an API standpoint. What is it I'm going to do with these records? Well, I'm going to get a record, set a record, save some values, maybe get some email addresses. That comes under server development, and I have a script include. A script include is a collection of server-side code that you can call anywhere on the server. Workflow script, business rule, UI action, email notifications, scripted REST API. We're going to employ this same core functionality in a lot of different places. So I will call this, not loaner, I've been doing the loaner application the last few days, the invite manager. And it fleshes out a skeleton of what my script include will be. I happen to have one already baked in the oven called script include, and it pops up 177 lines of code, much of which is comments, but I wanted to run through this very quickly to show you.
Hey, you want to enlarge your screen a little bit?
Can I enlarge that a little bit? Yes, I can.
Is it readable in the back? Thumbs up? Okay, a little bigger.
Better one? Better two? All right, we want to make sure that the cheap seats can see it too.
Cheap seat.
This isn't a lot of complex code. We've broken it down into just very small atomic features using what I would almost call a collection of low-code solutions. I want to see if a user is on a list. Great, tell me what user and tell me what event, and I will tell you if they're on that list. Did they sign up? Did they go? What was their response if they are on that list? So simple glide record queries, which is what we use to interact with the database. There's no SQL knowledge needed here. There's another one to say, if they are on the list, then go find out what they responded. Are they going? Are they not going? Are they on standby? We have that third state in that choice list. If they aren't, I may need to create an invite. If they are, I will update an invite. Again, very simple glide record queries that I can use over and over again. What's the current capacity? Are we beyond that capacity? And finally, get me all of the attendees who said they were going, because I need to mail them a day before, which is where I will begin. So that's a quick walkthrough of what a script include might look like. Basic functionality that you can use anywhere in your application. So let's go to the workflow editor. Remember, if you were here yesterday, I wrote this very simple workflow that said, wait 1 day before the event starts based on the start time using a timer activity. And 1 day before, I'm going to send out a notification that says, don't forget, the zombie hunt is tomorrow, which it is. So if you're here Thursday morning, it's easy to find zombies from the K17 party on Wednesday night. I'll probably be one of them.
Yeah.
Wait 1 day before and send out a notification, but it doesn't do this with a notification. It does this by triggering an event. And I sort of waved my hands and moved on yesterday and said, we are going to do this by triggering an event. I gave the event a name. It was automatically scoped, X meetup 1 day before. And this is the part that I sort of waved my hands and walked by. I can pass an optional 2 parameters to my notification. And in parameter 1, I am going to use my script include. Remember there was that last function that said, get all of the attendees. This effectively says, who is going? Send me back a comma-separated list of email addresses, and I'm going to send that to the notification, because when this event triggers, I am going to go to Studio. Does anybody else think of that Phil Collins song every time?
Studio.
Right. That one. Now you will. And say 1 day before reminder. Give it a good name. It's attached to the meetup event table. But I don't have the trigger option on here. Where is it, Kreg?
Where is it?
Yes.
Under advanced.
Advanced view. If I click advanced view on the related links, I get some more options. So I can send this message when a record is inserted or updated. I'm not doing that. I'm waiting around for a time. So the event is fired, called X 1 day before. This email is listening for that event. It just sits around and goes, hey, actually the event manager engine says, who wants it? I got this event from the workflow. Who wants it?
Yeah,
oh, there's a
like
notification over there that listens for this. That's more appropriate how it does this. Who will receive this? Well, I don't have a field on the event table that tells me all of the people that are going. It's generated by that script put into the parameter, and by checking that box right there, event parm1 contains recipient. And if you hover over it, it tells you a little more information. Don't forget to do that if ever you want to get quick information. And what it will contain is, don't forget, short description, because I relabeled the short description field from task yesterday, is tomorrow. And I can also optionally use the field chooser over here. If I can't remember all of my wonderful field names, I can put in things like, when is the zombie hunt over, please? Kind of like watching The Walking Dead now. Yeah. Will it ever end? Start. And obviously you can format these a lot nicer. But what I'd also like to do, as I mentioned, is, should I bring an umbrella to the zombie hunt? They make nice stabby instruments, but I can do that with, almost did the old way, a mail script. This allows me to inject dynamic content right into the same message. So I'm going to use this mail script tag and call the weather forecast script. What's the weather forecast script? Don't know, gotta write that. So using Studio, I can sort of build this as I need to go. Let's go to the notification email scripts. Unfortunately, that's not available in Studio yet, so I build it out here. I'm working on it. And I use the same name as I did before, weather forecast. And it says, add your code here. What code do I put there to go do a REST call? Well, I could go to the developer.servicenow.com site, ding, and look up all the REST message v2 APIs and try to cobble something together and spend 30 minutes doing that, but we don't have 30 minutes today. I'll show you a faster way. Leaving this form still unsaved, I can go back to Studio and say, I want an outbound integration to generate me a REST message. And I will call this get weather.
Very creative.
I need to know the endpoint. What system out there is servicing weather forecasts? Well, I happen to have a ServiceNow instance that's impersonating one. I called it Demo CT1, and it's got a scripted REST API called forecast that accepts a date on the URL. Ideally, it should have a location too, but it's just a stupid REST API that I made for demonstration purposes. I don't need any authentication. If I do, I can use basic or OAuth to do that. We have other information on that. Save that record, and now I have this default get. By default, you get a free method, an HTTP method. It's usually get. It is get. I'm good with that. I'm going to rename that so I can read it better later. It doesn't have to be called default get.
With 2 S's? All right.
No, not with 2 S's. That would mess things up. Thank you. And the endpoint was taken from the parent outbound REST message. Now, here's the fun part. In order to test this, and I can test this right now, I don't have to write any script or anything, I know that I need to, please stay on the page. I'm trying to highlight. I know that I need to pass a date parameter. So down here in the variable substitutions, I will save that just so I don't forget. Whoop. I add a new variable just for testing purposes. And I say the zombie hunt is tomorrow, 05/11, happens to be my grandfather, dearly departed grandfather's birthday. And there is a test link down here. I just want to
throw some data at it.
Throw some data at it. Make a request and get some information back. HTTP status 200, that's good. 404, that's bad. If you don't know all your HTTP status codes, you don't have to. They're on the internet. And it returns this JSON payload string. Yay! I can deal with this. I've got data. Little hard to read here. I'm not going to dive real deep into it, but it returned a result object with the temperature object. And based on that, here's the cool part. Not closing a window is the cool part. I mean, closing a window is not the cool part. Go back into my method, which is not called default get anymore. I have this other link called preview script usage. Remember the mail script I was writing about 5 minutes ago, this is the script I want to put in it. Actually, this is the basis of the script. It's kind of like when you see those TV shows that are based on a book. If I copy that, I get all of this script, REST message v2. Here's my REST message. Here's the method. It's got a hard-coded date in there, but I want the one from the event, which I will show you in just a moment. It gets back the response body and the status code. It's not doing anything with it. I want to do something with it. So what does that look like? Back to our message. Whoop, get rid of that because I've got one in the oven from before. Mail script. Type it right. Here's the same try-catch block. I'm using a field from the form, putting that into the date parameter, executing my script message, and then when it comes back, I use JSON parse to turn it from a string into an object. That's what I'm doing there so that I can then .walk to the value. So it's going to use template.print to insert this text into a notification. We save that, and now it's time for the test. This was my notification still here calling the weather forecast. So notification, excuse me, I'm going to back up to the top. Workflow triggers an event that fires a notification. Notification makes a REST call to the weather site, returns a JSON payload that gets inserted into the notification. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it's not that complex.
Don't forget to update that, right?
Thank you. Save that. And for whatever reason, when you save it the first time, it jumps back to that crazy blank form. I'll open a PRB on that on Monday. But here's my reminder. And I have this wonderful preview notification. I don't have to send it. I don't have to update records. I don't have to wait until one day before, which is one day from now.
One day before.
I can hit preview notification, and it says, don't forget, Free Lunch Friday is tomorrow. I'm just testing. And it says, the forecast is sunny in 22C. That came from the other system. All right, what's 22C? It's a nice day. If it's 10, bring a jacket. If it's in the 20s, it's a nice day. If it's 30s, it's hot. We can all do metric system together, kids.
Can we? I don't know.
Let's all play together. So I've got my wonderful notification. Do you want to describe this again in case you missed it yesterday?
Yeah, we'll talk about it again. Is what we're seeing there is sometimes people think this is an error. This is not. This is actually just it is just a notification that you have created a new record that says that the scope that we're in, the meetup scope, has accessed records outside of that scope, and that it is valid. It has now created these. You'll notice them over in the cross scope. In the list of them. So you can actually go, if you want to change that default access, you could actually change that grant. But there is now a list of records that say that this is an allowable use. By default, you will create those records. And so that is expected behavior when the first time you access these things. So.
Thank you very much. He explains that so well, because I was drinking water. All right, for the final requirement, we're going to put a modern user interface on this and make it mobile friendly. I will be using Service Portal. Any Service Portal fans out there? Awesome. If you're not, you can follow along.
That's the thing that confuses me is, how are you not a Service Portal fan?
Yeah, right.
You might
have never seen it.
An enthusiast? Maybe we should have used a different term. Aficionado?
Okay.
So the Service Portal configuration starts with this page. And I'm going to go into the widget editor, and I will build this up in stages. I'm not just going to throw the final solution on the screen, because this is the methodology at which I build widgets. And I believe Dave can say the same for him. You begin by saying create new widget, and I will create a meetup list widget and a page for that. When I hit submit, it brings me up 3 windows. I have server code over here, which is exactly the same as the server code we saw on any other server-side script. And I'm going to get the initial data, build me a list of events, find out who the current user is who's driving this browser. I've got some basic information that I need in order to display them a list of events and buttons they can push. So that part, we're not going to watch me code that. Let me collapse this. We don't need a client script at this point. But there we are. Again, very simple glide record query. Go get all of the events that are in a state of not draft. I want the scheduled ones.
Right, and you'll notice you've got basically the full glide scripting environment there. You have access to GS and glide record and everything.
Yep. For each record that I get, I'm going to populate an object and make an array of objects as this loops around and around. And there's our old friend, the script include, coming back. It says, what was their response? They're on the list. Did they say they were going or not going? Are they on standby? And we'll see that pop up because we're going to, now that we've got the data, or we believe we've got the data, we're just going to display it. A bunch of div tags. I use ng repeat to loop over that array of objects. There's my name. Here's a little if statement that says if the cost is free, let's use the word free. If the cost has a value, we'll say dollars per person. And then a couple of buttons at the bottom to say going or not going. I can preview that. I don't need to pull up my phone. I don't need to open another browser window. By clicking preview item and the little button, I need to save first. And I've got basic data and buttons. My queries are valid. It hasn't told me whether or not I'm going or not, which is interesting. And the buttons don't do anything yet. Mm-hmm. I am actually clicking that. Nothing's happening because I didn't tell them to do anything. Dave, how do I make a button clickable in Angular?
So you're going to attach a handler in the server script with the ng click.
Yes. Not client. Motor skills, gotta love them. So I can put an ng click there and another one on the red button, but rather than watch me type again, and we'll go to version 2.
Yeah, and the nomenclature, and it took me a little while to realize this, that ng dash means it's a dynamic thing. So ng means it's responding to the data that's happening, as opposed to, so it's basically the dynamic versus the static. Anything that is ng prefixed is Angular doing its magic.
I thought it was next generation.
Whatever floats your boat, brother.
Well, that at least the acronym works.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got the buttons watching for this send response, or when they're clicked, it's going to say, hey, call the send response function. Where do I define that, Kreg?
In the client script.
Right where I'm going to check. So I need to build a client script, and I'm going to show this to you. And client, there's only one version of this. Let's put this away for just a moment so we can see that a little bit better. Not much here. It's a function called send response that takes 2 parameters, which is what I'm passing over on this. Woohoo! Don't do that.
Say, wait a minute.
And it builds a little object, a package, a care package that I'm going to send to the server. I'm using a scripted REST API to interact with the server. I can write that, and I will in just a moment because it doesn't exist. Or I can update the entire record by doing a server.update method. Different options for different cases. If it was just doing a server update, it would be a lot shorter, but it would limit me in what I can send and receive. This gives me total control, so it doesn't have to look as big and bad as this as it first looks. Within that scope application, or scope, within the send response function, I am doing the HTTP call. It says, hey, go send this to the server, see what it thinks. And when it comes back, we will update our local data to reflect that.
Yeah, and you'll notice it's defined in that expect type syntax with the then. So the then is going to, the then basically says when this has finished, we're going to do this. Then is effectively defining a callback.
But we don't have a scripted REST API right now. So we need to build that. Back to Studio. Very easy to do.
And you'll notice the pattern too is we're basically, each step we're building a thing that doesn't quite exist yet, and then we just keep making the next thing exist and the next thing exist.
For programmers, we call that pushing and popping from the stack. I'm now down, about 2 or 3 levels?
That's right.
Just-in-time coding.
It's always like coding. It's like building your own puzzle you're trying to solve at the same time.
It's like building the bridge as you're halfway across.
Yeah.
Hard to keep that one afloat. Okay, I was trying to remember what I called this. I'm just going to make this a real generic thing called response. Whoop. It automatically filled that in, but I wanted to type anyway. I save that, and just like my outbound REST had a method, my inbound request has a function. Because I can have that one inbound request be responded to in a number of different ways, depending on whether or not it was a get, a post, a put. Well, I did note that in Service Portal, it was a post. We say, but Chuck, you're just getting information. No, I'm actually putting information. When you check that button, I want to save it on the server. I'm not just getting the status like I was in the server-side script. What does that look like? It looks very, very similar. You're going to notice a lot of similar functionality here. Scripted REST API. And just move something around. First three things it does is say, what did you send me in the body of that request? Well, I sent you the event, the user, and their intent is what I called it. Because if I intend to go, I say going. Well, it may be full. I don't want to hit a standby button. Nobody ever wants that, right? Especially on the airlines. You may have to, though. And then it says, well, based on that, I'm going to use the invite manager to say, are you on the list? Makes the code very readable when you use a script include also. And another advantage of using the script include is I can test each one of these functions before I actually put it in here. Mm-hmm. So I can write my script include and say, check if this user's on the list. And you get an error. Check if this user's on the list. And you can check it over and over. And then when you're satisfied, it can go into your scripted REST API or your workflow script or whatever. And if you're using that method in multiple places, like, is the user on the list? It might be in a UI action. It might be... You can change the functionality in one place. Very centralized, easy to debug. So if there's one takeaway you get from today, script includes.
Yes.
If they're on the list, update it. If they're not, create it. Basic as that. And the answer that comes back is the actual response. If they click going and it says, it's full, the response back from one of these functions is going to say, you're on standby. And then return that information back to the requester.
And wait.
Yeah.
Scroll. There's one thing that got missed.
What did I miss?
Scroll up, please. Up.
This
Did
up?
you define the endpoint?
Define the endpoint. Where?
Or right here, the relative path.
Relative path. I don't have to. I only have one.
All right. Okay.
Keeping it simple today.
It's worth noting, and this confused me at first, is that name and the path are different. So the name can be just any arbitrary text, and that is not defining your URL. Your URL is defined by the relative path. So that's defining the endpoint.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to test this thing out? It's time to do button test. Let's go back to our preview mode. Save this thing, because we didn't save before. I am going to the K17 party also. Woo! If you don't believe that actually worked, let's go to the meetup invite list and look at the K17 party. Chuck Tomasi is going. I'll see you there. You all are welcome to come up and push the going button with your own browser. This one's mine. Get your own. Let's go test the zombie hunt. The zombie hunt. Yay! How about the pub crawl? Ooh! What does that mean? You're on standby. Want to test it out? Go back to the list. Let's find the pub crawl. It says there's a capacity of 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh! Well, he's not going. He's not going. That's good news. And I'm on standby. But we've got functionality. This is working. What if I say, no, I changed my mind. My wife said I can't go. Oh, I can't go to the pub crawl. I'm not hitting update on any of this. These are responsive buttons. If my wife says I can't go to the pub crawl, even though I'm on standby, and there are 4 other people in front of me, then this is already updated. Pretty slick. We've got we're almost there. I just don't like the interface because this free thing is hiding a little bit. That's not really visible. Let's put some styling on it. So we're done with our client script. Let's bring out the CSS window. And with a little more HTML, all I'm doing is putting a table around this with some coloring and a little CSS. I'm going to bring in the final version of this. And there's my table. It's a striped table, if you like that kind of thing. If you don't, make your own style. And the CSS is pretty simple. I added 2 new tags. One for the cost to be a pill. I think we all need pills. And now that's looking pretty sweet with just a teeny little bit of styling. I don't know about you, but it seems like the CSS and the styling of a page is 80% of my development effort.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Let's test it out. Let's go back to the service portal configuration. Whoop. Before I do that, I'm going to put this on my main portal page, which exists in the global scope. That's why that's sitting up there. And go to the page designer. Find our master index page. This is the last thing we're going to do today, kids. And I think we need a list. Not the meetup list. I'm going to add an element right here for our meetups. If I remember, it was a button link. Link button. Sounds like a newscaster. I'm Link Button. And here it is. Well, that doesn't look like a meetup link. Let's go edit it. The default color, I like green. Green is successful, green is happy, green is the color of spring. The link for the button, we need to know what the short URL is. I don't know that at the moment, but I'm going to find out over here because I created a page for that. So if I go to Service Portal, remember when I first created the widget? It said, do you want to create a test page? Test? I don't test.
Go straight to prod, right?
I develop in prod. Let's sort them from oldest to newest. Who do I think I am? Chuck Norris? There's a try it button, and it says, which portal? I've got 3 portals. You can try this in any one of them. Well, I'm going to try it in the default portal, which is where I am. These are active links, and I always accidentally hit them. But if you're careful, nope, didn't do it that way. Go. Some days I can't copy and paste out of a wet paper bag. Now, you said before you release, hit Command-C?
Yeah, that's right.
Ugh.
There you go.
Got it. Okay, that's the trickiest part of this whole demo.
Yeah.
Where was I? Page designer. There's my link. Ta-da! Save that. All right. It's the time of testing. We go into preview mode. Here's my portal. I click meetups. There's my meetups. There's my mobile interface. And I can say, sorry, my wife did say I could go to the pub crawl. Oh, still full. Penny's bridal shower. Now,
Pass.
Free Lunch Friday. I'll go to that one because this one's $5.
Yeah.
What kind of Free Lunch Friday is that?
That's right.
So there you have it. We put a modern interface on that thing. We've put some script in there with not a whole lot of scripting, as you can see, but we did leave some homework for you if you want to extend this example. What if I'm on standby and somebody cancels? What if the location changes? I made it a notification. We put no security on that inbound scripted REST API, which means if somebody puts in, instead of going, not going, they put in
Bob.
knowledge.
Yeah.
What does that mean? We're not doing any filtering or checking on that. We don't have any ACLs on this thing. I'll admit it. I didn't make any roles and say who can use the Meetup app and who can't and what can they do if they do. Experiment. Take this as your own. You can go get a free developer instance if you don't already have one. There's the repo. I'm going to publish this on the community as well. There's a big listing of all the TechNow episodes. These links will be included. I'll wait for you to take pictures of us. Not the screen. Make sure we're in there. Smile.
And there's a very key step in line 2, which is fork the repo.
Fork the repo.
And then when you connect it to source control, you're going to connect your copy. Don't connect the master copy. Connect your copy.
That's true.
Sounds like you're mad at the repo. Fork the repo.
Fork it.
Oh boy.
We've gone there. So thank you very much. We are using industry standard JavaScript and AngularJS, so this talent pool is not hard to find if you don't already have it, to create modern, exciting experiences on our robust platform. Thank you all very much for coming today.